So, Miss Holmes has discovered an amazing new world called Parallel Line Land. It is a magical wonderland where she could travel around by jumping between different angles. And notice all of these are parallel. So we have this line is parallel to this line, parallel to this line, parallel to this line. Okay, so we're going to be using these words: linear pair, vertical angles, alternate interior, consecutive interior, alternate exterior, consecutive exterior. So what you're going to do is you're going to help her travel, and you can only travel between angles if there is a line connecting them. So we're going to start out at angle 1. We're going to start at angle 1. So we start at angle 1. Ms. Holmes can travel from 1 to 2 because they are vertical angles. So we know that angle 1 and 2 are congruent because they are vertical angles. And then we could travel from angle 2 to angle 3. We could go from here to here. Why? Well, because we call these alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles are congruent. So I went from here to here because they're vertical, angle 2 to 3 because they're alternate interior, and then from there I'm going to go from angle 3 to angle 4, and what are those called? Those are called linear pairs. And what we know about linear pairs is if you take angle 3 plus angle 4, those add up to 180. And then we're going to go from angle 4 to angle 5. And what do we call those? We call those alternate exterior angles. We know alternate exterior angles are congruent. And then they want us to go from 5 to 6. We could go from 5 to 6 because they are same side. And then we could go from 5 to 6 because they are corresponding. And then we could go from 6 to 7 because they are alternate exterior angles. And then from 7 to 8 because they're linear pairs. And then from 8 to 9 from 8 to 9 because they're alternate interior. And then finally, we could go from 9 to 10. Why? Because they're alternate exterior angles. So what's going on, we're starting with angle 1. We go to angle 2, those are congruent because they are vertical. And then we go from 2 to 3, those are congruent because they're alternate interior. And then 3 plus 4 add up to 180. But then 4 and 5 are congruent because they're alternate exterior. 5 and 6 are corresponding, so they're congruent. 6 to 7 is congruent because they're alternate exterior. And then 7 to 8 are supplementary. So now we get back that original number we had before. And then we go 8 to 9, alternate interior are congruent. And then 9 to 10, alternate exterior are congruent. So when we did the linear pair twice, when we went from 3 to 4 and then 7 to 8, that kind of undid it, gave us back the same angle. And so that's how we know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 10. And there's a property I want you guys to know, and that property is called the transitive property. And so the transitive property basically says if angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and then this is kind of a bad example, but if angle 4 is congruent to angle 5, and angle 5 is congruent to angle 6, then angle 4 is congruent to angle 6 also. So that's called the transitive property. So what I want you to do right now, I want you to make a path from angle 1 to angle 2 using exactly 4 angles. There might be more than one way, more than one path, but I want you to go from angle 1 to angle 2 in exactly 4 moves. So if you're at home, you could pause it, see what the answer here is in a minute. So we're going to start at angle 1, and I am going to go ahead and extend these lines because then it's easier to see the transversal. So I know this is parallel to this, so I'm going to make these my 2 parallel lines. And then I could use this transversal, or I could use this transversal. I'm going to use this transversal. And by extending those lines, it kind of makes more sense now. So I know I could go from angle 1 to angle 5 because they are corresponding.